Hello. Okay, this is my first time here.
Yay!
This poem is about two historical events. One is the Tiananmen protests of 1989, and the other is the Stonewall Riots of 1969. It's called The Movement and Me. The following piece contains forbidden words not suitable for a censored China. Conflict. A peaceful protest turns to violent massacre, but a violent riot becomes a movement. My father says to me, don't go to China, you're too liberal for them. Don't work in China, they'll arrest you and take you in. Just don't travel to China because we might never see you again. He has on his mind June 4th, 1989, university students, unarmed except for their intellect, occupied Tiananmen Square, Beijing, China. Government reports non-existent would tell you that they were mostly middle-class bourgeois. For weeks they had been protesting the communist regime for political and economic reform, set clear the agenda to address corrupt parties, freedom of the press and freedom of speech, the platform of the public norm. Students like us sat at the quadrangle. Students like us fought for basic human rights. Students like us wouldn't give up without a national scandal. Students like us up against military forces. Students like us swept out of the way. Students like us didn't make it home that day. They spent their last day on government home base, and I can't help but wonder if I had been born in a different time, in a different place, wouldn't I be sitting right there with them, occupying space? Students like us majoring in Be the Changeology, specializing in the field of one person makes a difference, and graduating with the highest honors of my heart. In the aftermath of Tiananmen, this part of China's history was censorship out to sea. No documents, no records, no memories, no movements, no progress, no redress, just candle vigils every year. For all that the students did, this incident in China is now referred to in discreet silence as the June 4th incident. Rewind, June 28, 1969. Gay patrons socialized at Stonewall Inn in Greenwich Village of New York City, deemed as a serious crime at the time, homosexuality. It was June 28, 1969. Queer icon Judy Garland had just passed away a week prior. There's no place like home. There's no place like home. There's no place for homos. Owned by the mafia and perched on Christopher Street, Stonewall Inn was the place for the queer community to meet. But police raids invade queer spaces until a quota amount of queers were arrested or until the police were paid. In green, it was all routine until that night when faggots finally fed up, frustrated, final straw broke, fist raised, feet thumping, blood furiously flowing, fueled by the full moon. Flame on, call your friends, we're not fleeing. This time fear on their faces for fairness and freedom, forced to fight back. Officers fall back, fast-tracked out of Stonewall, but the riots had flooded the entire block. So officers fucked off. When they say that the first gay pride was a riot, they mean it was a riot. In the aftermath of Stonewall, cities across North America marched in gay pride parades every year. For all that the queers in the village did that night, this event in New York City is now referred to as the spark that started the modern gay liberation movement. Conflict, a peaceful protest turns to violent massacre, but a violent riot becomes a movement. I am from the People's Republic of I don't speak my mother tongue fluently anymore anyways. I am closeted, loud, and proud. I am from the post-AIDS epidemic generation. I believe that the Stonewall riots were started by forgotten trans women of color. My liberation is bound up with yours. Governance accepts my gay voice, but not my liberal choice. Governance accepts my queer, but only just around here. Tiananmen Square and Stonewall Inn, two places I've never been, but I am connected to both through history. Some parts of culture we are taught by our parents, but the history of gay can't be learned this way. And I have no blood ties to my gay forefathers and foremothers, but Chinese teaches me to honor my ancestors. And I only know of photographs shared on online timelines of the one man who stood before the column of tanks on June 4th, 1989. So please don't pass over, but instead pass on our past. Without it, will we remember that homosexuals were once called Homo, philes, etymologically focused not on same sex, but rather same, love, Macklemore. Without our history, will we remember where to find the fundamental blueprints of rebuilding the queer wall of China brick by colorful brick? Our liberation, civil disobedience, resistance movements. Why? Do I raise a fist to declare that I am the 99%? Why do I try to make them care that we are idle no more? Why do I march in pride parades? Why do I march when I know what happened at Tiananmen Square? Because the modern word in Cantonese that Chinese gay men use to refer to each other is tong si, comrades. Chinese revolutionary Dr. Sun Yat-sen lived long before Tiananmen and Stonewall. He said, the revolution has not yet succeeded. Comrades, you must carry on. And so I end in haiku. Riots at Stonewall, Tiananmen Square protests. The movements shape me.